Okay. So hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Estrada. I'm the program manager for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and welcome to the New Construction and Preservation of Existing Rentals Pre-Proposal Conference. This is round 5. We're going to go through the NOFA. I'm going to just go over some of the different parts that you'll have to do inside of the application. I'm going to walk you through Neighborly, and then after Neighborly, we'll do questions. Ooh, second. Yeah. Then we'll do questions and answers. So first, the schedule. The NOFA was opened up on February the 2nd. The pre-proposal conference is today, 2/7. Submission of written questions is good through February the 9th. We'll set the written questions and that'll be at the dhcd.nofa, AHTF NOFA at baltimorecity.gov. Ebony will be posting the links and the emails for you guys to submit your questions inside of the chat. Answers to the written questions will be posted on DHCD's website by February the 20th. The submission deadline is March the 19th, 2024, and the notifications of awards, we plan hopefully to have it out by May the 22nd, the week of May the 22nd. All right. So the NOFA, DHCD is making up to $7 million available for affordable housing trust funds to support your rental projects. NOFA includes 2 set-asides. We're making up to $1 million available for the community land trust. You must be a registered community land trust. We're also making up to $1 million available for emerging developers. This is defined as a developer that has completed at least 3 and no more than 5 projects. Qualified applicants can request up to $1 million per project. Applicants who work in more than one community can submit more than one project for funding and will not be penalized. However, your projects need to be ranked in priority. Introductions. The applicants must be able to show that they meet all state and established organizational standards associated with new construction and/or preservation of existing affordable rental projects. This will be further described in the NOFA. We are looking for you to be able to undertake and complete projects in no more than 2 years from executing a grant funding agreement. And this is including site control, you having your committed sources of funding, and having an established infrastructure to support tenants and handle the compliance of subsidy of rental units and the day-to-day management of units. To be considered for an award of funds, applicants are required to meet threshold requirements, and you must receive a minimum score of 105 points out of a possible 120. Applications will be scored and ranked based on project feasibility, community engagement, and achievement equity. You will have the opportunity to qualify for a maximum of 70 bonus points. This NOFA is limited to applicants that are either a nonprofit, for-profit, community land trust, or joint ventures that are seeking funds for the new construction and/or preservation of existing rental projects. Applicants with 3 or more active existing construction/subsidy awards for projects from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, you are not eligible. Funding limits. Funds are limited to households earning 50% or less of the area median income. So anything, the funds cannot be used for any units that are above the 50%. Trust funds can be used to fund up to 50% of a project's total development cost, or a maximum of $1 million per project, whichever is less. That $1 million is subject to the cap stated above. The maximum request per unit is $75,000 for households earning 50% AMI. The cap is also, maximum request per unit is 120 for fewer than 10 units and 150 for 10 or more units for 30% AMI. You can use the funds up to 25% of the total award can be used for pre-development costs. It can be up to 25% can be used for acquisition costs. Up to 10% can be used for operating costs, and it has to be directly related to the project. Up to 25% of a total award can be accessed in advance for pre-development and/or acquisition costs, and this is only for grants. All units funded through the trust fund must restrict leasing and occupancy of those units for a period of at least 30 years. This is our affordability restriction. So if you receive funds from us, we do put a restrictive covenant on the property that ensures that the property is affordable for 30 years. These funds, again, the households have to have incomes that do not exceed 50% of the area median income. But note, guys, this does not mean that all of the units in your project has to be 50% and below. Just the funds that you are asking for us has to be used for those 50% and below households. Okay, eligible uses of funds. The funds can be requested to support operating, pre-development, and construction costs. Some of those eligible uses is acquisition and stabilization of non-city owned properties, architectural and engineering, environmental assessment and testing, market and financial feasibility analysts, construction, carrying costs, financing and lender fees, legal fees associated with closing, financing, and drafting legal documents, consultant fees, project management staff, infrastructure and utilities, single-family condos and cooperatives, building projects, demolition, and customary landscaping. Ineligible uses, acquisition of city-owned properties. You cannot use our funds to buy city property. Acquisition of properties through receivership or tax sale. Home ownership property projects. This NOFA is not for home ownership. It is strictly for rental. Temporary and shelter housing. Staff that are not directly related to pre-development, construction, or maintenance of the project that you are applying with. General organizational operating costs such as rents, utilities, or operating supplies. Relocation, repayment of existing loans or any other liens. Community gardens or urban architectural uses. Projects that support specific religions or other affiliations. Commercial, retail, or economic development uses. Your projects can have commercial in it. Our funds just cannot be used for that. Our funds only can be used for the residential portion of your project. And of course, costs associated with the preparation of this NOFA is not eligible. How to apply. We are only accepting applications through the Neighborly application portal. Applicants must submit one complete online submission of their application, including all attachments and threshold requirements. A copy of the development budget as an Excel spreadsheet. Inside of our application, we actually have a link to that. So that will give you a template of the budget. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Please. How to apply. Okay, application, scoring, and bonus points. The application consists of 4 parts: threshold requirements, financial review, scored criteria, signed certifications, and authorizations. The threshold review includes organizational, financial, and compliance-related documentation and is used to determine whether an application is eligible for review. Some examples of threshold requirement is like the commitment to comply with MBWBE, the local hiring requirements, your financial documents. And to be honest with you, you guys completing the entire application online is considered you not meeting threshold if you do not complete every item in the application. Scored criteria. Our score criteria is based on project feasibility, community engagement and participation, and achieving equity. Project feasibility, this category you can score between 70 points. Some of the items that we are looking for and how we score it, the project is that the project can be completed within 2 years of executing a funding agreement with DHCD. That's 20 points. Experienced development team, you get 10 points. Project ability to leverage additional funds is 10 points. Feasibility of development budget is 15 points. Site plan, you get 10 points. And experience renting and managing low-income rental units and or having a reputable management company is 5 points. Community engagement and participation is worth 25 points. 10 points is that the project is consistent with the community or neighborhood revitalization plans or strategies. You can find that on the DHCD's website. Ebony or Crystal will put that in the chat. Neighborhood participation in a project ownership and control, that's worth 5 points. Projects that support one or more goals of DHCD's community framework and a documented community engagement plan. Achieving equity. Applicants are encouraged to refer to the DHCD's equity statement that is also on the website. And that is achieving equity, you can get a maximum of 25 points. And those are broke down between building and achieving equity, opportunities for returning residents, and supports blight elimination. And the blight eliminations, we look for that you can eliminate blight for a whole project. For a whole block. I'm sorry. Bonus points. So there is a good amount of bonus points that you can receive. The long-term affordability. Remember, this application automatically, this award has an affordability restriction on it, that you at least have to restrict your property for 30 years. But if you go over that at a minimum of another 10 years, you can get 10 points. So another one is support and grows local businesses, takes advantage of apprenticeships and training programs. You collaborate across multiple neighborhoods, serving households at or below 30% AMI. That could get you 10 points. We are looking for projects to acquire that 10 points for the 30% below AMI. We're looking at projects that 25% of your total project units are for the 30%. Another, provide services for permanent supportive housing. If you have permanent supportive housing in your projects, that can get you an additional 5 points. Local hiring, you're already required to adhere to the local hiring requirements. But if these are a list of 3, that if you do 30, 50, or 70% of the hours, you can accrue between 3, 7, and 10 points. Environmental sustainability, that's 3 points. Development fee deferral, you can get 10 points. And our newest bonus point is markets of strength neighborhoods. Bonus points will be awarded to projects that are in market of strength neighborhoods that are defined by Baltimore City's housing market typology categories A through D, neighborhood zones. And we will put that link in the chat as well so that you can see the neighborhoods that is for. All right, reviewing and awarding funds. Applications that meet threshold will be reviewed by an interagency review panel. It'll be scored and ranked by the review panel, who at their discretion can submit written requests for additional information, meet with the applicant or their team members, or tour the proposed project. During the review process, questions regarding announcements shall be directed in writing to DHCD at AHTF NOFA at baltimorecity.gov. Again, that will be dropped in the chat for where you can submit your questions. You are prohibited from contacting specific members of the review panel or members of the commission. Those who do will have their applications disqualified. And then all awardees will be notified by phone and or in writing whether their submission will receive an award of funds. Applicants who did not receive an award of funds can submit a written request for a 30-minute debriefing. During the debriefing, DHCD will review the submission and panel's recommendations. All right. Underwriting and availability of funds. And following your notification of award, we will be having our awardees orientation, and that will walk you through the whole process on how to get the funding. After that orientation, we'll set up individual kickoff meetings with all the awardees to go over the Pacific project and to set up like the schedule and the requirements to make the funds available. All pre-approval commitments letters must be in hand before DHCD issues funds. Awardees are advised that no funds shall be made available until the Board of Estimates has approved the funding agreement, and funds will be available based on a reimbursement basis. No upfront funds outside of the advancement monies will be made available. And again, to be able to get the advancement monies, it has to be a grant. Everyone will not get grants. Monitoring, compliance, and reporting. Awardees will be required to submit progress reports for projects under construction detailing the following: the percentage of the projects that are complete, reasons if the project is not on schedule, percentages of MBE, WBE goals that are met, your local hiring plans, and plan update and percentages of local employees and apprenticeships. Failure to submit these reports and information in a timely manner could result in a state of default. Insurance. And a lot of the stuff as you get awarded will be in the orientation. We actually have people from different the different agencies that come, like for instance, about insurance. They will be at the orientation to answer any questions. So for insurance, all awardees will be required to provide evidence of insurance prior to DHCD's issuing a letter of commitment. Insurance requirements will be provided on a project basis and also include the following: directors and officers liability insurance, commercial general liability, errors and omissions, blanket crime coverage, automobile coverage, payment and performance bond. And this is the miscellaneous. This is just some things for you guys to keep in mind that. And when you are getting awards from the city, we do have indemnification, that meaning that all awardees, their employees, board of directors, contractors, subcontractors will be required to indemnify and hold the city harmless from any claims, demands, lawsuits, or other actions that may be brought against the project. Conflict of interest. Awardees will be required to disclose any conflicts of interest. Please let us know if there's a conflict of interest in any way before you get into the project and once you are awarded, actually. And the administrative rights, again, you can send us any questions, and inquiries can be sent to dhcd.ahtfnofa@baltimorecity.gov no later than 5 p.m. Oh, I'm sorry, the deadline to submit your application is on March 19, 2023, no later than 5 p.m. You can submit questions and inquiries to DHCD AHTF NOFA anytime, though. And now this is like a bonus thing, and we're going to go through this really fast so that we can get to the questions and answers. But I just kind of put Neighborly into this presentation to kind of walk you through. I get questions sometimes about Neighborly. It's really simple, but we're just gonna walk through it as fast as we can. So if you haven't registered in Neighborly yet, this is what the beginning of registering is. You're either going to sign in because you already registered, or you will register. Once you do that, it will take you to this screen, which says start a new application. You're going to come to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund rental. As you can see, we have other applications that's in here. Not all of them are under the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Then you're going to start your application. It's going to take you to this screen that's going to ask you your project's name. In this part, you should be putting your project's name, not your name, not the company's name. This is whatever your name in the project that you're about to work on. And then it'll say start the application. Now, really, the next page that will pop up before this is actually the program overview. What we just went through, that will pop up so that you can read through it. I highly advise you guys to read through it because I did not discuss everything in there, and it goes into deep detail about each section of the application. So I do advise that you read the entire program overview. And that, again, that will be the first page that pops up when you say start the application. And then after that, this is the page that comes up, your project contact information. This is where you're going to put your name or your company's name. Yes, you're going to put your company name here where it says developer, and then your name can go here, the person that I should be contacting, all your contact information. Project information is section B, and this is where you'll talk about your project. This is the neighborhood, the city council district, the actual address to the project, your total project development cost. This is the total cost to get your project done. The amount of trust fund that's requested. Again, we do not fund whole projects. So if your project, your total development cost is 1 million, you should be requesting no more than 500,000. At B6, you're going to see describe your request. That is talking about what your project is. I didn't give the whole body, but in this part, it'll say talk about your project. Tell us what you're trying to do, how many units is going to be in the project, their AMI. Remember, our funds is only used for 50% and below, so put those in. There is a section that you will have to put in the units. Please fill those out fully. Even the units that are not being funded by the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, if you have 100 units, you're putting in all of your units and their AMI, and then you're putting in our units, and we'll see how many units we're getting by you doing that. But do not just put the units that's for us. Put your total units. All right, section C, organization capacity. This is where you're going to talk about your organization, what it is. Is it a corporation? Is it a LLC? Is it a nonprofit? And when you come here, there's going to be this drop down. And if, let's say you're a nonprofit, it is going to populate all of the documents that the nonprofit needs to submit inside this application. Then it talks about, you know, your principal entity. So if there are two entities that is doing this project together, the principal entity, the main entity, the ones with the financials need to be listed in here. And then it talks about your development team. Please don't skip this, guys, because you guys are skipping this stuff. And I know it seems like it's small stuff, but it's important to us. So please put in there your whole team. If you got your general contractors already, you got your consultant information already, your architectures, put it in there. And then C4 is like describe the qualifications of the applicant. Like this is the time to kind of toot your horn and say how good you are. And then here we go, list the projects that are underway, right? You're going to list if you are in the middle of doing 5 projects or projects that you have done within the last 5 years, we're going to list them here. If it's more than 5, I do have a button that will allow you to upload it. It's down here where it says documentation. Budget. Okay, so because I did this and I moved fast through here, I do have my consultant on here that will answer questions about budgets if you have it, but I do not have the budget in this presentation. Like last round, we actually walked through an entire budget, but I've taken that out because I really want to kind of get through this so that we can get your questions answered. If you have any questions about the budget, we're here to answer them. But to let you know, we have a standard budget form that we actually have in here. It says, please click here when you go into your application. It will populate our budget template. If you don't have a budget template already, you can use that. The same for the operating performer. That is a template in here for you to be able to use our template. If you have your own, it is fine. But yes, we do prefer ours. Then there's the question about the low income housing tax credits. If you are applying for LIHTC, there is this button here that says yes. We're asking for the performer, the CDA performer 202. Please upload that. You will not have to upload our budget and that. You can just do the 202. And then this is just talking about your funding and stuff. So section D, project budget and schedule. Just the one thing, I know this stuff is kind of small, so it's hard to kind of see, but D7, it talks about your schedule of your project. Again, please do not skip this. I need to know your schedule. I need to know when you plan on having your project done. That is very important. Why? Because in the beginning of the program overview, we said some of the things that we look for is that you can have a project done within 2 years of being awarded. So let's not skip spaces. Project readiness. This kind of talks about your management company, talks about the number of affordable units that are under management as of now, kind of showing your experience in that way. And then it'll talk about the status of your development approvals, like have you gone to zoning? Have you had your site plan review? Upload that. I have an upload button here for you to be able to upload that you have done all of that. That's also an important step for you guys to do, because sometimes you may present projects that the city, the zoning department may not approve, and you wouldn't know until you went to zoning. So that should be done, or at least you guys have reached out and gave that information so that they can kind of get back with you. All right, community engagement. This is it, even though I don't have requirements beside this stuff, this is very important that you guys fill this out. I'm telling you, community engagement is probably one of our most important parts, because it's showing that you are developing in a community and you care about the community that you're developing in. You need to engage with the community. You need to get the support of the community. I will be very honest with you. Last round, it's a couple of good projects that did not make the cut because we had a toss up between one project and another one, and the one that had the community engagement is the reason why they got awarded. So this is important. Also, there is an upload button for you to upload your community engagement plan. Next, project equity. This is the drop down. So here, right here, this is this screen you'll see, but then I did a screenshot here to show you that there will be a drop down for you to say whether your community, your project is in the communities of opportunity, or in an impact investment area, or other major revitalization areas. You will need to let us know which one of those are. Again, if you have an affirmative marketing plan, please upload it here. It does help. And bonus points. I really didn't go through the bonus point section. Read the program overview, and I promise you it will help you. I advise you to give some type of bonus points, because again, this is another thing that how other applications outscored certain applications is because they gave us a good amount of bonus points. So read through those carefully, and if you can, try to get those bonus points. Lastly, these are like the organizational disclosures. This is talking about all of the companies, the AKAs, all your affiliations. They should be listed here. And then property disclosures. Any properties that you own or sold within the last 5 years should be listed here. If it's more than 5, I have a button for you that you can upload it. You can write it out on a PDF and upload it. And lastly, of the application, it's certification of compliance. This is your last one. This is for the person that who has the permission to sign for your entities. They should be signing this. And that is it. And that was like a lot. Yeah, let me see. Can I get out of here? Okay. So now we're going to take questions and answers. Oh, we still have a lot of people in the waiting area. Okay, so we'll try to where you guys can raise your hands. And then I'll call on you, and then you can unmute yourself. And I'm going to check the chats. I don't see any questions in the chat. Ben, I think I have Ben. Can you unmute yourself? Okay, hold on. Let me see. Or do I have to do it? I might have had to do it. There you go. Now unmute yourself.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, everyone. My question, I have 2 questions actually. One is, can you submit for multiple properties in the same area? And then do you have to have ownership of those properties that you're applying for already?
Yes, you can apply for multiple projects in the same area, but the ownership, we just need site control. Site control is very important. You cannot, and site control consists of a contract of sale. Either if you're buying from the city and the LDA, we do allow that. Or if you have like an EMP with the city, and that's when the city is working with you and said that they'll hold these properties for you. So, let me think, what else? Or deed, or if you already own it, but yes. You need to at
Okay,
least
so
have the contract to sell for them.
okay, all right. I think that answers my question. But go back to question one about the multiple properties. Do they have to be in the same area to be considered, or within the same geographic neighborhood?
Okay, so let me add. So is your project for multiple properties? Is that what you're asking, like scattered sites?
Yes, yes. So like if I
Okay.
have a few properties on the contract, they're in, I think the same zip code, but
Mhm.
they're scattered throughout the city. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, that's
throughout the zip
fine.
code.
No, that would be considered like one project. Just make sure you put all that in there. You can have scattered sites though. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. I don't know your name, so I'm just gonna say your phone number starts with 415. And let me allow the mic. Did I do that? 415? No. Okay. Ben, can you put your hand down? All right. I don't see. Let me see who has a hand. Okay. Phone number starts with 928-443-928. I'm going to allow your mic. Do you have a question? You have to unmute yourself though. Once I allow your mic, guys, you got to unmute yourself too. So I think it was 928. No, okay. L. Taylor, let me allow your mic. Okay, so now unmute yourself, L. Taylor.
Hi.
Hi, there you go.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Stephanie, quick question. I'm a little confused. I have two. One question is this for, I've seen a section for eligibility on the guidelines, and it said for profit. So is this program for nonprofits or for profit?
For everybody. This one actually is for everybody. This is for nonprofit, for profit, community land trust, or joint ventures. So yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. And then, I heard you say it could be a land disposition type of agreement. So you can still file for these grants, and the properties could be owned by the city.
Yeah. So you're in the middle of trying to buy the properties from the city.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
And so so then you'll have an LDA, which is our way of a contract of sale. So it's the same pretty much, like a contract of sale. So yes, if you already have an LDA for a property, yes, you can apply with that, and that will be considered your site control. We actually have a portion in the application where you upload your site control. So yes, that's fine. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Uh-huh. Oh, and just kind of like to piggyback off of that, remember, you cannot use our funds to buy that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Not city properties. You can use our funds to buy other properties, but just not city property.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Let's go to Ellie Kendall. I am about to. Okay, you can unmute yourself.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome, thanks. So I have 3 questions. I put them in the chat. The first one is, I know that the funds can only be used for units that are 50% AMI or below, but on the shared spaces in properties that are mixed income, can you use these funds to renovate shared spaces like hallways and laundry rooms? I guess if the property is 50% units that are 50% AMI and below, would we be able to cover like half or less of the renovation costs of shared spaces with AHTF funding?
Oh, that's a good question. Jason, help me. Yes, Jason. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so Jason
Yes.
says yes. Yes.
Okay.
No, because ultimately what we're looking for is more 50% units. So the key thing is to make sure that your units have that mix. And
Okay.
again, if you're renovating something and you're renovating the units, you're also renovating the hallways. As long as the units are getting renovated, then that is what the Affordable Housing Trust Fund really wants to make sure.
Okay. All right, that's helpful. Thanks. And then just to be quick here, just to the I guess last question I'll ask is are these grants or are they loans? And if they're loans, what is the interest rate and term and details?
So all that would be discussed at your like kickoff meeting. So it depends on once we get in and actually see what your project is and all that stuff. So all of that would be discussed after you've been awarded. So like in the application
or
though,
just a
yeah, in the
Mhm.
applications is actually a question that says like, are you applying as a grant or and then you can hit no, and then it's a section where you can kind of break down what you're looking to do. So, but no, all of them are not grants.
Okay. Do you have a breakdown of how much of the funding will be grants and how much will be loans or?
Nope, I do not. No.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Now, H. Damir, I'm sorry if I messed it up. Your mic is open and you can unmute yourself. I hope I said it right.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, yes.
I just have one question. So the affordability restriction says 30 years that it has to be at least half affordable housing. That goes as a restrictive covenant on the deed, correct?
It not well, yeah, well, it will be recorded with it. So we actually have our own restrictive covenant that you have to get recorded in land records. So when you record your deed, because sometimes people own their properties already. So we're putting it on after the deed.
Gotcha. But we
Yeah.
would still be able to, after the project is finished, we would still be able to sell the property and move on to more projects, correct?
Absolutely. Just the person that you're selling it to need to be made aware that there's an affordability restriction on it.
Okay, great. Thank you for the clarification. That was it.
Yeah. All right. Okay, let's see. 443928. Unmute yourself. And let me see. No, I can't. You have to unmute yourself. Mhm. Okay. Almost lost you guys. Okay. Donyette House. Give me 1 minute. Okay, unmute yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your time. My question is, when you mentioned the developer, what was the requirement for the developer?
Requirement for the developer.
I believe I didn't catch it all the way. I think you said the developer would have to have X amount of projects already completed. What was that?
You may have thought about the emerging developer. So the emerging developer, we define that as a developer who has completed at least 3 projects, no more than 5.
And what qualifies as a project?
Renovations or new construction.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And my next question, I don't know if I missed a piece or not. My connection was kind of in and out. The housing, once you make 50% of it for low rental, are you still the deed holder, or are they paying that to the city? Like, how does that portion of it work? So if their rent is only, let's say $300 for the month, does that get paid to the city, or does that now um, get paid to the corporation or the business itself?
Okay. So when we say that we're funding 50% and below AMI, that's the area medium income residents, that is for you. So you have to, if you tell me that you're doing 50% AMI units, right? You're going to make 5 of your units for 50% AMI. HUD has, which Ebony or Crystal, if you could drop that HUD link in here, that'll take you to the area medium incomes for Baltimore City. And it breaks down how much you can charge in rent. So your units can't go past that rent amount. So that's what we're talking about. The money doesn't come to the city. The money comes to you, and you have to be okay with renting out those units at those prices. If that kind of makes sense.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So let's say you got 10 units and you're doing 5 at market rate, which is whatever
Okay.
you want to charge for market rate, right? And then you tell me you're going to give me 5 at 50%. Well, now you have to, every year we ask for like your rent rolls and stuff to see that you are charging the rent that HUD has established for Baltimore City's area medium income residents. So if they say that those units can't be, you can't charge more than $600 for the rent, we need to see that. And that's restricted for 30 years.
Okay, that's fair enough. And then my last question, when my mom was processing that, my last question slipped me. Um, oh, for the amount requested, it sounds like this is this like is this a match grant for, let's say, because I'm a nonprofit. I know I'll probably apply under the grant section of it. So would I need to, it sounds like I would need to have a match. So if my project, let's say the project is looking like it's maybe, I don't know, 100,000, I would need to have a match for whatever it is that I'm asking.
Yes. So we only fund up to 50% of your total development cost.
Okay.
So if you do, your total development cost is 100,000, you cannot request more than 50,000. And then this is where I encourage you all to read that program overview, where like the funding limits, and it breaks down the per unit cost. So you only can apply. So let's say if you're doing 50% AMI units, right? And you're doing 10 of them, you only can apply up to 750,000, because we are only paying 75,000 per unit for 50% AMI units. Now for 30% AMI units, we're giving out up to 120,000 for under 10, and 10 and above 150,000 per unit. So I hope that's clear, but I know it can be kind of complicated because I get confused myself sometimes. So I know it can sound a little crazy, but we will not. Yes, you have to have other funding sources in your project. We do not fund 100%.
Okay. One more thing, Stephanie, and then I see you have other guests with their hand. Just your last statement, if you can sort of rewind that. I want to repeat what I think that I'm understanding.
Okay.
So if I say, hey, I want to do 10 units. For each of my unit, I want to do 10 units, Stephanie. and I want my 10 units to be all at the 30% AMI. So for each of those units, you would fund how much for each unit?
It's $120,000, right? But
Mhm.
you max out at $1 million because we're not our funding limit is stopped at $1 million. So yes. So you could have, if you're doing 10, then yes, you qualify to apply for up to $1 million. If you're doing 10, 30%. Yes.
Okay, and then that 120,000, that number would have to cover whatever your whole budget for that house, correct?
No, remember, we're not funding your entire project. So this is just what we're willing to pay per unit. So if your unit cost could be, I have a developer that his unit cost is $260,000 per unit,
Okay.
but I'm only paying 120. That's why he
Okay,
needs
I
the rest
got
of his, that's why he needs the rest of his funding sources. So he's applying to other places. He may apply with the state of Maryland, or he may, his construction lender may have their other, stipulations on how they do it, but this is
Okay.
ours. We only fund up to 120, and if it costs you 250, then you just need to match that with whatever other money that you're getting for your project.
Okay, fair enough. If my brain thinks of other questions and I do have them, I'll just send an email. I appreciate your time this evening. Have a great one.
Yeah, no problem. All righty. Grant C or false. I hope I said that right, and I apologize if I did not. Your mic, yep, you can unmute yourself.
Hey, that was pretty darn close, so I appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, so thanks for everything tonight. I just have two questions. As far as timing goes, so I'm looking at a LIHTC project that's currently in Maryland's queue.
Mhm.
As far as timing goes, is the timing of 2 years from the allocation of funds or from the award date of May 27th?
Very good question.
Mm.
It is from the time that you get approved from the BOE. So not your award date, but
Okay.
let's say you get awarded in May, and then you got all your funding sources together and everything by November, and then we're going to the board. So then the board may take 2 months. So let's say January, your time clock starts once the board approves it.
Okay, so as an estimate, January is probably when that clock would start, which
Yep.
is totally
Correct.
reasonable. Okay.
Yeah. So it's basically as soon as you're ready to go, we're ready to go.
Yep, that is perfect. Thanks. And then my next question is there any preference given to projects requesting grants versus requesting soft debt?
I don't know. Like I wouldn't say it's a preference for it. It's just what you need. So for instance, LIHTC deals. A lot of the times LIHTC deals need loans so that they can include that in the basis that you guys are trying to qualify for the amount of tax credits that you get. So a lot of those are loans.
Yes. Yes.
Versus, maybe like a small developer, a grant may be perfect for them to kind of help them get off the ground. And so so I say that we look at each project and make a decision that way. So we hear you out. If you have a great claim on why you should be getting a grant, we do hear you out. We take into consideration, we get approval from the housing commissioner, and then if it's a go, we go. But I wouldn't exactly say there's just like a certain preference for it. I think it's just case by case.
Okay, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All righty. Deborah Seal, I'm going to take you off okay, you can unmute yourself. There you go.
Okay, thank you. When you say projects completed, do they all have to be in Baltimore? Because I've done some in Maryland, some in DC.
No, no, they don't just have to be in Baltimore. Yep.
Thank you.
Wow. That was easy. Okay. RDO Hardy at Gmail. That's what I have you as. I am. Okay. You can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, hi. Earlier you mentioned that the emerging developers, they're qualified for 3 to 5 projects. I have a question. Does the individual applying, what if they have done more than 5 projects? Do they still qualify?
Yeah, so remember, or you may not, I don't know if you was on the call. So when we break down like what DHCD made available, we made 7 million available, which there are 2 set-asides. One is for 1 million for community land trust, and you have to be a registered community land trust, and another million is set aside for emerging developers. So we do this because we have big developers that probably cross every T and dot every I versus smaller developers who are just trying to come up, and they don't have as much experience. We like to set aside money for them that's strictly just for them. So no, you still qualify if you had over 5 projects. Yeah, you can still apply. It's just you won't be in that bucket of emerging developers. That's all.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Amy. I'm not going to try the last name because I don't want to mess it up. I took your mic. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes. 2, I think, quick questions. Thanks. One is the criteria that applicants with 3 active construction projects from the AHT are not eligible. Does that include the smaller funding projects from hubs? Yeah.
No. This is, so I have developers that have received awards from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund over and over again. So there's a cap on it. So if you apply and this is your 3rd time applying and you got awarded again, you cannot apply again.
That's different. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
No,
you.
not the other city programs though. This is strictly for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Okay. Well, we get funding from the Affordable Housing Trust for hubs, but smaller things. And there's a maximum of $1 million, but is there a minimum proposal amount?
That may be something that I put in here one day, but I don't have it now because I actually think that is a great question. Because guys, I actually think it should be a minimum because, and I'm gonna tell you why, because of that 30-year restrictive covenant. You do not want a 30-year on $50,000. So it probably should be a minimum, but it's not. So.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Prosper. Let's allow the mic. All right, you can unmute yourself. Prosper. Still here? Okay. All right. I don't want to mess up your name, so I'm gonna call you O. O.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your time. I just had a question. I clicked on a link that was sent regarding the home program limits, and so it for Baltimore it shows the fair market and then 50 and 65%. But I think you mentioned earlier in the presentation that there's a 30% threshold. Where would one find the rent limits for that threshold?
It should be on that site. Ebony, can you find it? Can you look through and kind of find it and try to drop it in here again? Because the 30%, it should be on HUD's chart. Look, I think I actually have a chart too in our share drive that's for Maryland that really breaks down those. If you can find that, Ebony, and drop it in the chat, that'd be great. But yes, it's actually out here. It's Maryland State has their one, and then HUD has one too. So I believe what she put in the chat was from HUD, and they may didn't get as detailed in it, but we'll find it for you and drop it in there.
Thank you.
Real quick too, with the rents, and I know this may go over top of everyone's head, but there is a way to calculate it too, which is by doing their income. And you do their income, their monthly income divided by 12, and then multiply that by 30, and that will get you the limit. And then you can compare that to the chart, and it'll tell you like whether they're in the 50%, 40%. And so like right now you can see 50%, right? When you do that calculation, you can see that they're either under that 50% or above. But we're still going to get you that information. All right. Let's see. Prosper, I'm coming back to you. You can unmute yourself. I think I actually saw you put something in the chat. Let me see. Let me see if I can go on the chat. Oh, okay. I see you. You couldn't unmute yourself. Okay, I'm sorry. If we have existing units, can we convert them to 60% AMI? Well, I don't fund 60% AMI, but I guess the Affordable Housing Trust Fund only funds 50% and below. No money is allocated for 60 for AMIs above that. Okay. All right, let's go back to people. All right. Ellie, do you have another question?
Yeah, I do. Sorry to ask two questions.
No, you're good.
I have on the AMI levels, is that based on like actual tenant income or is it based on the rent levels? Like, for example, if a family could be earning at like a 50% AMI level, but then they're using a voucher to pay rent. So rent is actually set at like higher than what a 50% AMI family could pay. Does that make sense?
Right. So you're saying a voucher is paying at the AMI rent versus the tenant would need to pay lower than that?
Well, like, I guess the question is like, is the 50% AMI level, are you asking about actual like rent level? Like, you know, say 50% AMI rent would be like $300 or something. And then, but a tenant earning 50% AMI might be eligible to receive a voucher that would pay rent, but the voucher would pay like much more than what 50% AMI person would be able to afford. So if the rent level is set at the voucher payment standard that happens to be more than 50% AMI, does that qualify? No.
Okay. Yeah. So it has to be at the 50%. Yeah, it can't be above that. You can't get, yes. Okay.
So it's not based on like individual income. It's based on what the rent level is.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. All right, so I kind of have like some of the same people here, and maybe you didn't put your hands down, but I'm just gonna ask. So, Amy, I have your hand up again. Did you have another question? Or you just didn't put your hand down?
Sorry, my bad. Taking it down.
Okay, good. All right. Let me see. Al Taylor, you asked the question before. Do you have another question or you just didn't take your hand down? Okay. Yeah, I think you guys can take your hand down. And to take your hands down, guys, just tap that hand again. Let's see. I think I saw something go in the chat. Okay, Prosper. I have a new project with 36 units in design process. Can we mix 30, 40, and 50% AMI? Yes, sure. Absolutely. Sounds wonderful. All right, Karen Highland. Do you look at the rental rate the unit receives or the rental amount the resident pays? Our 30% unit has HAP subsidy. You know what, Ali? I think this may be tapping on something that you were saying too. We're looking at what, and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe what the tenant is paying. The tenant has to be paying within their income. So their income, that calculation that I just gave based off of their income, and then it will calculate out the rent amount. So remember their monthly salary times the 30%, and then they can't go over that rent amount.
Yeah, ultimately, what the Affordable Housing Trust Fund is looking for is units that are dedicated towards certain AMIs. So it's not like, you know, that family could move out and then that unit goes to market. No, that unit is then going to always be between 30 and 50% of the AMI.
Right.
Or 50% and below.
Yeah. Let me know if that was okay. Did we answer your question? Yes. Thank you, Kate. Okay. L. Taylor, you have a question, but you couldn't unmute. Okay, let me see if I can get you. Try this one more time. Okay, allow mic. Okay, try now. L. Taylor?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yep, I got you.
Wonderful. So I just want to clarify. So I have a few questions. You don't have to have the land. You don't have to have the contract before you do the application. Just once you approve doing a 2-year process, you can obtain the land, or do you have to have a contract sale to do the application?
Yes, you have to have the contract or sale
To do the
at the
application.
time of application. Yep, at the time of your submission. So site control is a requirement.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then this is only for rentals, not for affordable housing for sale.
No, yes, no home ownership.
Okay.
Please, guys, last round, I got a couple of different applications with home ownership. Nope, it is strictly for rental.
Okay, great. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Kate, did you want to chime in? I'm sorry, from the last
Yeah.
time that the audience was kind of taking over the thing, so I had put this blockage on the mics. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I think that maybe it was answered, but I just wanted to fully clarify that if you have additional rental subsidy on top of, okay, so the units are reserved for people at these AMI levels, and the portion of the rent that they pay has to be affordable for their AMI level. But if you have rental subsidy coming from another source that's paying additional on top of that, that's okay. Like if you have a voucher or you have the HAP subsidy, that's okay, as long as the unit is reserved for people at those AMI levels and they are paying affordable rents at those AMI levels. So I think that was what people were trying to ask, and I just want to make sure that we got that clear.
Yeah. The units are for 50% and below, and they cannot pay past the 50% and below whatever they get in. So if they're at 50%, they can't pay more than that limit. If they're at 30%, they cannot pay more than that limit. Yes. Okay. Don Yet House. I don't know if your hand is up again. Do you have another question?
I think Kate cleared it up for me. So the unit can be, if I'm understanding correctly, the unit can be, I can have 10 at 30 below, but those 10 can also be receiving like a voucher or something like that. But as long as I keep their cost of rent below that AMI, then I'm good.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
okay, I'm kind of glad that you said that because our 30% units normally do have vouchers attached to them. So the developers are applying for vouchers to help out with that 30% cost because 30% AMI units, that rent is really low. So yes, yes. Okay. All right. Deborah Seals, do you have another question? I believe.
Yes, ma'am,
Okay,
I
you do?
do.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
go.
That 30-year restriction, if you were to pass, then that would fall onto your state.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So the restriction is on the property. So whoever acquires that property it is bounded by that restriction. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, you have another question?
I do. I'm sorry. I received the second link with um the home income limits, and you mentioned earlier that one could do this math themselves. I think you said monthly income, but I think you meant annual income divided by 12,
Yeah.
and you would multiply the result by the applicable threshold, whether that's 30 or 50%. What's the relationship between the annual income and the rent limit? Because the annual income changes depending on the household. So how does that factor into into this equation?
Okay. So we do their annual income. You divide that by 12, and then you multiply that by 30, right? Whatever you get, let's say it's $700. When you go to that chart, you'll see, let's say at the 50%, it'll say that their rent has to be $800. Can't go past the $800 mark. You have to keep it under that. Like you cannot go past that mark. And then when you and then as it increases, so let's say the 50% may say 26,000 for one person. And then the next one might say 28,000 for two,
Yeah.
right? That's where you're keeping it at. So if it's a 2-person, it goes up. If it's a 3-person, it goes up a little bit more too. So then you're going off of that and then kind of calculating it out based off of the income that they're giving you. I know it's confusing.
Yeah, my math, I mean, I thought I was good with math till just now, but
I know. I
guess
took a whole class on it and it was like, oh, wow, it's confusing. So, but I don't mind answering a million questions. So if you have more questions.
I think I can send the question offline maybe.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ebony, can you drop my email in the chat? Please. We still got people coming in from the lobby. Goodness. All right. I don't think I see. I don't think I see any more questions. Okay, Prosper, you said, what are the funds granted be applied for? Land purchase, pre-construction, or just construction? No, acquisition is an eligible use. We can give up to 25% for pre-development and construction, of course, yes. So yes, you can use some of the funds for acquisition. I think up to 25% is for acquisition, up to 25% is for pre-development as well, and the rest construction. Any other questions, guys? I don't see any more hands. This is until 6:30, but if you don't have any more questions, we'll get off sooner. I'm going to Aaron. Hold on. Let's see. Aaron, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm sorry if this was already covered, but in the application, you ask if we are currently receiving city funds. Would that include like home funds and things like that, or just subsidy programs?
Yeah, everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. William, hold on. Okay, you can unmute yourself, William.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Really quick question. With the AMI limits, does household size affect the amount that you can charge or the threshold for the AMI limits?
Now, the household size
Yes.
matters. Go ahead, Kate.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So there's charts that break it down by your household size. So if you're a family of 4, your limit is going to be different than a family of just 2 people. So yeah, I think somebody put the link in the chat to those. I believe I saw it at some point.
Yeah.
And so you can find the Maryland income limits, and that will be based on both the income and the household size.
Yes.
Thank you.
Lola, hold on. Okay, you can unmute yourself, Lola.
Hi, Stephanie. I was listening on the phone. I kept trying to press the unmute on the phone. You were like, if nobody has questions, we're gonna hang up. I was like, I do. I couldn't get it to like, I don't know, raise the hand over the phone. But I wanted to go back to, just so that I'm clear, I know that you can't fund more than 50% of the total development cost. But you were going into the per limit cost. It was $75K per unit if it is at the income level of 50% AMI.
Yeah.
Okay. And then if it is at the 30% AMI level and 10 units or less, you give 120 per unit.
Yep.
And if it's greater than, if you're renovating more than 10 units, and of that, and you're doing it at the 30% AMI level, you'll give 150 per unit.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right. Because I was getting confused because you did the example of 10, and I was like, and we kept saying 50%. So I'm like, are we saying 5 units have to be rented to people who meet that AMI threshold, or we're not? You can rent all your units to people with that threshold, correct?
Yes, please give me all your units.
Okay.
I like to reiterate because I've had a couple of different developers say that they thought that they could not apply for this fund if all of their units were not at 50% and below, and that is not true, guys. You can have mixed units. You can have your 60% and above. You just can't use my money for it. You can use the money. You can use the Affordable Housing Trust Fund money for all of your units that are 50% and below. That's all. But you can have mixed unit projects.
Okay. And even for, if we're going to do all of the units to be, at 50% or below AMI, you still only will fund 50% of the total development cost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And the other question someone had asked earlier, I just needed clarity on, was like the emerging developer. I'm like one of those emerging developers where is there like a minimum, because I even know when I get funding, like, is there a minimum renovation amount? So like one of my rentals, I only had to probably do like 22K in renovations, right? To make it, do those count, or do you guys have like because I've had like lenders tell me, hey, if you didn't do 50K or spend a certain amount in your renovation, doesn't count.
Oh, no, I don't. No, I don't. No, that counts. It's good.
Okay, all right, and it didn't have to be like a flip. It can just a property you had to renovate, and that counts.
Yeah, and you're renting it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, because this is a rental project. So yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, and you count flips and the rentals, or you just count the rentals?
Yeah. You can submit all of your if yes, you can submit your projects that you have completed or that you're in the middle of, and just show it. There is a section in the application where it shows, where it'll say list out your projects that you have completed within the last 5 years, not completed, or that you have completed or are under the way within the last 5 years. And if it's like more than 5, then I'll allow you to like upload a document so that you don't have to type it all out. But yeah, it's a section right there. You can put it all in there. It's not, we just want to know that you have some experience doing it.
Okay, all right, perfect. So that I'm good with that. And I have one more. I know somebody just raised their hand. I was trying to listen and not do it the financial. I looked on a form and it was talking about like the financial. Is it a certain amount, like a financial feasibility type? Like what is the requirement when? Because I'm not a nonprofit organization, but what are you guys looking for when you say financially?
So like I believe it's a partner application that has like a drop down, and it'll say if your business had, made over 500,000, then you're gonna need like a audited financial statement. If it's like under 200,000, then you have to do like a income statement or something like that. It's broken down in the application though.
Oh, in the actual
application. What we require in that aspect. And then like your budget is part of the finance and stuff too, like the budgets, the pro formas, all of that stuff has to be included because that is part of threshold. If you don't submit those things, your application will be eliminated.
Okay, and how can we have a contract? Because someone asked, you said you have to have a contract at time of submission, but we wouldn't talk about receiving money until January of next year. So I'm just thinking how that looks in real life if I go under contract for like, say a 10-unit building, but I wouldn't be able to be funded until January next year.
Oh no. So that we were just giving an example because he wanted to know when does the time clock start? The time clock starts, you have 2 years to develop your projects. The time clock starts as soon as you are approved through BOE. So if you come to me and your project is ready to go, you have all your funding sources. And this means that, let's say your total development cost is for $2 million and I'm giving you 500,000. I need to see where your other 1.5 is at. So once you get all of that established, you have commitment letters and all of that, and you got your site control and stuff, then it's time to go to the BOE. And then, or if you want to go to the BOE, because in some options you can get advancement money. So you could go to the BOE before you get all of your funding sources, and yes, you want to get some of that advancement money so you can like do your pre-development costs and maybe finish out your acquisition. But the problem with that is that your time clock starts now. So now you got 2 years to get it done. You could go to the BOE as soon as you get awarded, as long as you got, everybody has to have site control. So you could go, but your time clock starts, and that means you have to have your project done within 2 years. So he was asking like, when does the clock start? And do like basically, a lot of the times developers need more time to get their funding sources, to do their fundraising and all of that stuff. And they don't want to be on the clock as soon as they get awarded when they know that they still have to get $2 million more. You know what I mean? Okay. So yeah. So it's up to you though. Once we do our kickoff meeting, if you get awarded and we do our kickoff meeting, we'll talk about your schedule. And then we'll go through it and see like where you're at in your project. And if you're ready to go, then we can go to the BOE. The BOE does take 6 to 8 weeks. And on top of that, you still have to do like legal review and audit. So it may take something like 3 months to get approved through the BOE. So.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. But that was just an example. January was just an example.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Okay.
All right. 928 or I feel like that. Khalil, you can unmute yourself.
Hey, thank you. How are you? Hope all is well.
Yeah.
I had a quick question regarding prevailing wages. So say we've got a project and only a small percentage of the units are going to be applicable for the application, 5% of the units. Do the prevailing wage requirements have to cover the entire project, or is it just for the portion for which we're applying for funds?
Khalil, that is a good question. We're in the process of talking with prevailing wage right now. So prevailing wage will be a part of our orientation for when everyone's awarded. But from what I've known is that anything over the $5,000 prevailing wage applies to the project. So we're working with them now to kind of clear up some of that language to make it kind of clear for you guys. But you know, give me a minute. Let me
Yep. Okay. We'll stand by.
because we're like in the middle of meetings with them now about prevailing wage. So yes, as soon as I know, I'll reach out to you.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Lola, I still have your hand up. Do you have another question or you're good? Okay, yeah, it went down. Let's see. Yeah, we will put the recording of this meeting. It will be on the website. Let's see. Can you give me an example of how the community can have project ownership and control? Hold on. I guess we're working with the community organizations and consulting with them. That's not.
I'll add in too, Stephanie. I mean, this is when you have the community land trust model is one model that helps with that community control. So that's a model that you can look into.
That's a great example. Yes.
Yeah, and you can have a community land trust that does a rental project. So that would be a model for community ownership.
Great answer. Ms. Wilson, if I have 20 unit project base around student living, can I still apply? I'm not sure about that one. Kate or Jason?
I don't know if I totally understood the question. If I have a 20 unit, are they applying for the 20 unit student project or are they? Let me find it. It's in the chat.
It's in the chat. Yes. If I have 20 unit project based around student living, can I still apply?
I mean, as long as the students, if the question is, can you apply for this project? Then as long as the people who would be living in the project are at 50% AMI and below, then you could apply.
Okay. Okay.
If I'm understanding the question. I've seen affordable housing trust fund, not affordable housing trust fund, but affordable housing projects that are geared towards different groups. But as long as they're still meeting that AMI, then that's fine.
Right. Okay. Prosper. How do you define the number of people? Is it by the number of bedroom and bath or by how many occupies the unit? I know that's like a tricky question because like LIHTC goes by, I think the bedroom or something like that, but I believe ours is by how many people occupies the unit. Are you using the rents and the DHCD multifamily library 2023 income limits or the HUD home rents? I believe it's the Maryland income limits. Ebony, do you know which ones it is? I believe it is though. Earlier the home runs were posted, yeah.
I just opened the link that they posted under their question, and that is the right link. That's the link to the income limits that we're using.
Yeah. The adjusted HUD limits, adjusted home income limits. Okay. Okay. Yes, the HUD 2023 area medium income limits. Well, okay. Let me get out of this. Let's see. Okay. All right, guys. I think we have some great questions. We're at 6:30. It's time to wrap it up. And it's still a lot of people still in here. So again, we've dropped in the chat our email addresses. You can submit any additional questions at dacd.ahtfnofa@baltimorecity.gov. If you have any additional questions, we will post those questions and answers on DHCD's website, as well as this recording will be posted on the website as well. So if you want to go back and look at the recording or look for those questions and answers by the 20th of this month. And then good luck.